Hi there and welcome to Lorena's Labyrinth. My name's Anna Pirelli. The comments that you see here are my views, beliefs, opinions, and sometimes they are not even my fully formed views, beliefs, and opinions. However, they are my understandings. Please do retain an open mind and reflect on any of the content and your comfort levels. If your views differ, please feel free to leave a comment. Also remember, it is possible to disagree in respectful ways. My way is not necessarily your way and vice versa. You might also find that some of the content on this playlist in regard to spiritual or universal laws, it resonates with you, meaning it feels right to you, while other laws may not feel right or they may not feel comfortable. If this is the case, the information is either not right for you or it is not right for you right now, and it might never be right for you at any given time. It really doesn't matter. As an earthy and practical person, I can put my hand up with all honesty and say that I have at different times had the same feelings about some of the content in here. And with some of them, I still have a level of skepticism within my viewpoints, but I choose to retain an open mind about the things that I don't fully understand for a few reasons. Firstly, because I believe it would be supreme arrogance to think that we all know all of the answers while we have a body. And because what is right for one of us is not necessarily right or suitable for all of us, and I choose to respect the differences. Please do leave your opinions, beliefs. Feel free to argue the points in a respectful way with any of the content on the slides and even my interpretations. And if you feel that you can add clarity around some of the content, we would all love to see it. Thank you. For now, though, let's explore the laws.
All creation is governed by law. The principles that operate in the outer universe, discoverable by scientists, are called natural laws. But there are subtler laws that rule the hidden spiritual planes and the inner realm of consciousness. Contained within these laws, or conditions, is the true nature of matter. Knowledge of these laws has an effect upon the mental urges. Mind is the builder. Stay in full mindfulness of the application of universal law as related to self and to others, and know that in love all life is given, in love all things move. In giving one attains, in giving one acquires, in giving, love becomes the fulfillment of desire, guided and directed in the ways that bring the more perfect knowledge of self as related to the universal, all-powerful, all-guiding, all-divine influence in life. Love is life. When we go back, merge with the God source, in some infinitesimal but profound way, we expand the mind of God. Our higher self always points the best and most perfect way, and it is ours to listen and choose or reject what we hear. It does not blame, but patiently tries again to show the perfect way, the loving way. All of creation pushes forth. We are ever becoming. Identity ever remains. Universal Law number 24. The Law of Equalities. Otherwise known as the principle of correspondence or essential divinity. As above, so below. As below, so above. The major linking agent in the universe is the energy of love wisdom. And the purpose of analogy is to lead the mind back toward the sense of oneness, enlightenment. The thoughts and images we hold in our conscious and subconscious minds will manifest their mirror likenesses in our external circumstances. Our outer world is a mirror of our inner world. Earth is a school for practicing these laws of mind control. There is a correspondence between the laws and phenomena of the various planes of being and life. This principle enables the phenomenon of discernment, intuition, hunches, etc., and that which is called remote viewing or out-of-body experience. Correspondence enables that which is normally unknowable to become known to the individual who learns and knows how to use this principle. Some use it in a conscious and deliberate manner, while others may not even be aware that they are using this principle. When used knowingly, it will enhance the clarity of vision and enables the mind to penetrate the most secret of secrets, and can shed light on many a dark paradox. Correspondence establishes the interconnectedness between all things in the universe and keeps all things relative to each other. Known to the adepts and masters of ancient Egypt as the substance of the ethereal, the spirit substance or web that pervades and interpenetrates the universe. This substance acts as a medium for the transmission of light, heat, electricity, gravity. It is non-material in nature. Also known as the uncreated substance, or universal substance, the substance in which all suns, worlds, and galaxies are suspended in space, time, and change. All of us are intimately connected to all of the above-mentioned events, and to each other, whether or not it is realized. The ethers are where spirit substance is manifesting the beginning of matter. Science refers to this substance as dark matter that cannot be seen, touched, smelled, or weighed. Dark matter does not absorb or reflect light and is therefore invisible. It is considered to be a non-material substance. The planes of correspondence in the order of manifestation are the great spiritual plane, the great mental plane, the great physical plane, or the Trinity, the ascending scale of life and being.
Well, what can I say? That was big. So my initial reaction to this particular law is that this is the biggest one of the 105 universal laws, bar one, that we will be looking at. And I don't mean necessarily, in fact, I don't mean at all the most important law. I mean the biggest one as far as a word count goes. There's only one other one that's as extensive as this one, and we'll talk about that when we get there. So the more words that are in the actual paragraph, the more we've got to actually nut it out and break it down. So to start with, I think in the first instance, if you're anything like me, the first thing that you will do is jump to the idea of the as above, so below stuff, referring to the universal structure of the cosmos and ideas such as light beings and an angelic kingdom, because this is something that I learned years ago and which resonates with me to a certain level. You know, that as above, we've got the angelic kingdom and other kingdoms or whatever, and then on the earth plane we also have a structure. And my understanding was, and to some extent remains so, that for example on the earth we might have corporations and there's a structure there, there's a social structure, there's a business structure, and you have those people theoretically that are qualified at the top of these structures. And theoretically, and I keep using the word theoretically for a reason, these people at the top of the food chain, they are responsible human beings whose concern is for the greater good of humanity as a whole. They're not selfish and self-absorbed people. Of course, we would dispute this on the earth plane at the moment based on what we're seeing globally as far as leaders go. So where would I go from this? So that's where my initial thoughts run to, that in the same way that we have these structures here on earth, that on the other side you have what they refer to as light beings, if not angels, and that they also develop mastery throughout their spirit life, if you like, and develop expertise in different areas. Now, going back to what's going on locally at the moment, I think when I say locally, what I'm talking universally, I'm talking about across the world, the planet Earth. I think most of us who do have faith have had, at least we've questioned faith. If nothing else, we've questioned our beliefs because of the amount of chaos and turmoil, I guess, that we see across the world. And if you're like me, you get a bit cynical and you think, how did these people get into these positions of power? Has somebody greased palms with money, or, you know, how does it happen? Are they just very skilled corporate psychopaths and will trample on anybody on their way to the top? You know, you do wonder about that. I certainly do. So at the same time, I must respect and acknowledge there will be, I'm sure, some very dedicated and humanitarian leaders there who are of the highest integrity and incorruptible. I'm sorry, I can't think of any offhand right now. if it comes to mind, I'll mention them. Anyway, once I move past that, this whole big structure type thing, then I look at the as above, so below concepts of individual and personal structures, which is the internal and the external. So I think that the iceberg theory applies here, that business of we're only ever accessing about a third of our true potential above the surface, and below the surface there's all this untapped potential that we need to bring to the conscious awareness so that we can access it and employ it in our daily living and lives, right? So I think that's what we're referring to as well, because remember, the difficulty of language is that it can be applied in so many different ways. I am interested, of course, in hearing your thoughts. So this whole idea of upon reflection, right? So upon reflection, then I think, or I give thought to, I'm not sure about my pronunciation here, Jungian concepts of personality and the archetypes, which is that bringing the aspects of self together and uniting them consciously through raising our self-awareness. And I kind of feel that this logical rationale fulfills the paragraph of the law that refers to oneness and enlightenment being a linking agent. So if I was to piece together these three ideas that come to my head, then theoretically what I'm thinking is, if we can get a balance, this is my interpretation, if we can get a balance within our own personas and become more centered, more self-aware, and use the power of our mind, such as love, care, heightened regard for our brothers and sisters of humanity, then we will manifest this in our outer world and our external circumstances, regardless of the agendas of other people. Okay, so basically the law does say this place is where we learn to control the mind, and when we direct thought through the power of the mind, then we're connecting at an atomic or universal level. And this becomes what we call telepathic communication. And in some forms, we would actually refer to it, well, I would refer to it as energy sharing as well, could even be energy transfer and projection. But if we are living with dysfunction, shall we say, and our thoughts and beliefs run to this dysfunctional fear-based stuff of woe is me, kill or be killed, that kind of thing, then this is the energy that we're going to transfer and project to other people. So if we can harness those negative thoughts or visual imageries and replace them with images of love, care and regard, I guess, positive outcomes and solutions, seeing humanity coming together peacefully. And I don't want to get political about this, but I'm just sort of thinking, if you, me and everybody else got together and started doing these projections, shall we say, or visualizations perhaps, of the Gaza conflict being resolved in such a way that it was win-win for both parties and they were able to employ peace, you know what I mean? If we were all visualizing that instead of focusing on the sensationalism of pain and suffering, we might actually be able to, based on this law, I believe it would be saying that we could actually alter what is happening over there, because we're uniting our energy, strength of willpower, focused willpower. Look, feel free to put your thoughts up with this. As I say, this is just opening a conversation. These are the reasons why I make these comments as well. I'm just thinking perhaps the Gaza conflict was maybe not the best example to use. So if you're going to respond to these with your comments and all the rest of it, let's not take sides in a conflict. Let's try and keep it positive and focused. Let's actually adhere to the law of equalities, shall we, when we do our comments. Thank you. So if I were to attempt to rationalise this a bit more, especially in regard to my comments about global leadership and corporate psychopathy, which realistically I am probably speaking about the high prevalence of narcissism that we find around us these days, then it would be a case of me focusing on if we want to get past this, me focusing on my personal energy fields and my persona and my behaviors to ensure that I'm always balanced, that I'm always loving and kind in my manners and actions and gestures to everybody, and that includes the narcissist. But I need to be clear here, it doesn't mean that I have to accept the unacceptable behaviors of others, or saying that what they're doing is okay, or, that's great, thank you very much, please wipe your feet on me. It doesn't mean that at all. It means, in fact, the opposite. It means that we, or I, would emotionally detach any emotional investment that I have had or I currently might have into the people and situations that do not appreciate my value or my contributions that I do in a loving way to them. Because remember, if we're kind and loving, people of questionable intent, or if we want to say who lack a certain amount of self-awareness, will exploit kindness if they see it. So ultimately, in regard to that, just a little tidbit here, I will do a video on narcissism, because this is something that's so prevalent in this current time frame, but I don't perceive it will be a video where I sit up there and put myself up as an expert of how to handle narcissism. What I would most likely do is use or draw upon evidence-based research and point you into the direction of resources that I've observed that are online, because there's a lot of content on YouTube at the moment, and I think in many instances, because I've been having a bit of a swish through them, that these are people that are still trying to heal and recover from their own personal experiences of hurt and betrayal by the narcissists. So I would endeavour to point you into really good resources that I've found as well. So back to topic. What I infer about the comments of phenomena and correspondence is more aligned with the Jungian theory, or Jung, where we take that detached view of ourselves and the way that we're acting and behaving on the earth plane, which is the third dimension, and how we react to people and how we react to the situations that become triggers for us. And this means that we've got to really pay attention to the internal workings, our feelings, because all of our actions that we manifest externally are based on our emotions and feelings and thoughts that we have on the inside. So the concept of being detached is a bit like playing the role of observer of our own lives. And I think that's where the remote viewing of ourselves comes in. At the same time, I must acknowledge that I am aware that if we work with energy and we have well-developed clairvoyant skills, we can actually do a remote viewing of ourselves and our aura. But once again, even within that context, there's a lot of symbolism that's attached. And so if I was to apply this to my own experiences, if I was to do a remote viewing of my own aura clairvoyantly, I would see pockets of energy and colour. And everybody, spirit will communicate with people in ways that that person can understand. So this is how it works for me. I would see energy and colours, and that would convey to me that I'm either receiving healing energy on a specific part of myself, or that I've got some internal stuff that I need to unpack. So let's say I was feeling out of sorts, and actually let's use the narcissist as an example, because they're so good at betraying people and betraying confidences and undermining a person's faith in themselves. So let's say I was recovering from narcissistic abuse. I might do a scan of my aura, doing that bird's eye perspective, and I might actually see a lot of the colour yellow in there, and that would be saying to me, I would interpret that as that I need to be working on issues around trust and faith and hope and things like that. That's just me putting it to you as how it would work for me. So anyway, going back to this, the Law of Equalities is about correspondence, so it says, and I perceive that this law is saying that we should use these gifts that we have to enhance the clarity of vision. That goes back to the clairvoyance as well. to bring what is our darker, or as Jung would say, our shadow self to the surface so that we can send light into it. Now, if we look at the feng shui symbol, this is the beauty of that, because within all of us, right, we are not singularly all light or all dark, right? There is aspects, and it's our choices. How we choose to live our life is how we live our life, basically. You know, if we choose to live by the light, then we still have that little darker aspect within, if you like, and we can feed that with our negative thoughts and negative feelings, or we can contain that by focusing instead on the positive things and living with love, and then we increase the light in our aura. Okay, so back to the concepts of sharing energy. I perceive dark matter to refer to the heavy stuff, that self-absorption stuff, and anything that's less than love and kindness. I'm not sure whether you agree with that. Once again, I'm always very interested to hear what other people's understandings and experiences are. Of course, light is what, on my interpretation, higher vibration, and it allows for greater knowledge, empathy, and understanding combined with love and compassion. And we would, I guess, employ that when it comes to a narcissist, for example, that inner understanding that, you know what, actually, these people are quite damaged internally. They have a lot of healing to get through. So we can know this consciously. Usually, if you explore the psyche of a narcissist, you'll find that they have some damage from their childhood, or even from their adulthood, actually, because I believe that adults can develop narcissism these days. But you can understand why they have become the way they have become. It doesn't mean that we justify or excuse their behaviour. That's where we employ. Now, empathy's, I think, a misunderstood word as well. We can have empathy, but we don't have to take on board another person's energy. So I believe empathy comes from understanding and compassion. It doesn't mean taking on board another person's emotional issues. All right, so we can understand and we can have compassion towards them, but we can also emotionally detach from them and take control and charge of our own lives. And I will remind you that this is something that we can learn to develop through the activity. I put up the video on boundaries and friendship circles. That is going to be a really good tool for identifying when you are associating with people that are actually potentially taking advantage of you, and perhaps you should step back from them. Early identification of a narcissist, even, just a thought. So this is becoming a very long video, and I would like to apologise for that, but let's be real, it was a massive paragraph or passage that we had to unpack. So moving on, when we talk about interconnectedness, what I believe this law is saying is that the energy that we've been talking about connects us to each other, of course, and it connects us to the universal pool or substance. So the references in the paragraph to the masters of ancient Egypt and the ethereal spiritual substance, I interpret that as being what we in the West would refer to as energy, or just purely healing energy, and it can pervade and penetrate the universe or the cosmos, not just ourselves. I would also say that, because it does say this in that passage as well, that it's through this etheric substance that we can communicate and transmit to each other, because this substance acts as a conduit. Well, I think what is interesting within this is I have recollections of when I first consciously started doing this stuff. It was just after I'd learned how to do Reiki. I ended up having, because obviously I'm in Australia, I had an Aboriginal woman come for a healing session. And at the end of it, we were just having a yarn, which is where my word yarning comes from, because that's what Australians do, we have a chat. So we were having a bit of a yarn together, and she expressed to me that in her mind she had the feeling, without anybody ever having told her, that each one of us that walks the planet is like a star in the sky. They're just one little blip in a great big cosmos, and that we're all connected with, in her mind and her vision, with a ray of light that extended from one star to the other, and they go back and forth. And it's like a beam of light that also radiates back to a central point, which actually I feel that this has been confirmed by the Law of Equalities. Now, as for the dark matter that's referred to, if I really want to simplify things down, it sounds to me like, and I will keep this very simple, that dark matter is the equivalent of potting mix. It's basically a nothing commodity. It does have some substance, but until something is put into it, like a seed from which something can grow, it's just there. It just is, right? So within the context of spiritual life and creation, it sounds to me like the dark is the dark until there is a divine spark of creation, and it's from the darkness that the light grows, if that makes sense. I'm not even sure that I really understand that. So I'm actually really interested to hear, once again, what you guys might make of it. Let me know. Please leave a comment. Love to hear them. Thank you. So I'm just going to leave all of that with you to think about and reflect upon yourself and see if you can find meaning within it. For now, though, I'm going to, as usual, thank you for being part of my journey today. I realise that you're probably all very busy because, of course, it's Christmas Eve. I send loving thoughts to you all and prayers. Take care, keep safe through the holiday craziness, and I shall catch you tomorrow. Much love, light, laughter, joy. Have a happy day. Take care. Bye-bye.